Okay, so for today, what you're going to do is I have my example here, but I would like you to make a 3D model of the sun. So you can do this with anything, all right? I'm not restricting you on materials, meaning I want you to be creative. I want you to think artistically. What could you use around your house to model three-dimensionally the layers of the sun? I've already made a flip grid where I have made the example so that you guys know exactly what I want you to do. But what we're doing is I found 6 different materials to work with. Every material that I used for my layer of the sun, I made sure was something related to it, whether that was its structure, meaning anatomy, right, or its physical shape, or maybe it was something that I thought represented one of the characteristics about what that layer does. So I'll go ahead and break it down for you. I already made a flip grid where I explain this too, but I'll definitely explain it for you guys here. Can you guys see the model okay? I can't really lift it up because then everything will roll off. But I did make a flip grid. Okay, so here we go. So what I did was I used food. I do not want you guys to waste food. So please wash your hands before you start prepping if you want to use food. And that way when you're finished, you can eat it or you can put it back into its place in the refrigerator, whatever. So definitely wash your hands first. I do not want you guys to waste food. All right, so here we go. So what I decided to do was I made my 6 layers of the sun. Everyone will be required to show 6 layers. And I try to look through what I had. And I first started with the core because obviously the core needs to be something that's circular. So I used food and what was on my countertop. So my eyes took me straight to an orange because obviously the orange being circular. Hey, Kyle and Evan, please stop chatting and listen to the directions. I've muted everyone, so the issue shouldn't be continuing. So let's just please listen to the directions. And once again, you're no one is talking, so it's okay. So please move on. All right, so here we go. So again, think of something or find something circular that you can use to center or start your model. So I used an orange. I sliced the orange uh, so that I took the bottom part off and I took that middle widest part to act as my core. All right. And I made the little center of the orange represent represent the sun's core. All right. And each of your layers, I also want you to draw an emoji or a symbol on your little label. So here's my label for Earth. I keep saying Earth. I'm sorry, for the sun's core. All right, so for the core, I wrote core for my label, and then I put this little symbol, and it's not a very good one, but it is supposed to be a fireball. All right, so and that's because we know the core is the hottest layer at 15 million degrees Celsius. The outside the core of my orange, meaning all the citrus pockets that you have for the orange, I thought was great for the radiative zone. So those act as the spots where we have the radiative zone in the sun. I drew the emoji of the slow walking man because we know that the radiative zone, we know that it takes, can everyone see me? I'm sorry, I just realized that it's spotlighting on other people. Sorry, Mia. Okay, so here we go. So I have the radiative zone and my slow emoji walking man because we know that it can take the photons in the radiative zone over 100,000 years to make their way through that zone. So I thought the slow walking emoji man for the slow movement of photons would work. All right, so next I made strawberries represent my convection zone. So I sliced my strawberries, and you'll notice that the strawberries have this circular, right, inner portion, which I thought was great for the convective zone. So you know the plasma that's convecting in the convective zone. For my symbol, I just drew a current, right, to represent the convective zone. All right, the next zone, moving to the atmosphere of the sun, I started my photosphere. I had my photosphere. Where's my little thing for the photosphere? I had my photosphere be tinfoil, and I did that because we know that the photosphere means sphere of light, and that's the layer that we're actually seeing from Earth. So I made sunglasses as the emoji or symbol for the photosphere, and I thought the reflective aluminum foil was great because it's very shiny, just like our sun, and that's what we're seeing as the photosphere from Earth. Next was the chromosphere. So for the chromosphere, I used a magnet because we know the magnetism in the chromosphere, right, is responsible for creating the prominences and what can lead to solar flares, CMEs, and then sunspots. So I used the magnet as my symbol. I used multicolored Cheerios. This is the fruity Cheerios. If you haven't had those, they're delicious. And there's a bunch of different colors. So I did that because we know the chromosphere stands for sphere of color. So I used multicolored objects to represent the chromosphere. Finally, we have the outermost layer, which is the corona. Great word for the week. So for the corona, I had my emoji for the corona be the, be the diamond ring, because we know that during a solar eclipse event, when the corona is completely exposed and you get to see it when the moon is blocking the rest of the light from the sun, I thought the diamond ring was really appropriate because that's the beginning of that solar eclipse event. I also use these green beans, which I cut to be different lengths, because we know the corona, just like you've seen when you envision that solar eclipse, it's not all the same length, meaning the thickness of the corona varies in size, right? So it kind of almost, when you draw it with the different bands, right, of different varying lengths. So I try to represent that with the green beans I had by cutting them at different lengths. And then, of course, I just had them going outward in all directions around for my last layer for the corona. Okay, so it's a little bit different. If you want to use food, like I said, just start with something circular for the middle. I used an orange, but I'm sure there's a lot of other things you could use. Tomatoes, you could use like an avocado, so anything like that. If you don't want to use food, I would encourage you to go outside in your yard, or if there's a park in your neighborhood. If you're in an apartment, I know that's a bit more difficult, but you know, like I said, you can also use things like Play-Doh or Legos, or I mean, I made one that was a tabletop version, but if you want to make yours out of like pillows and like random objects around the house, all I ask is that the layer be representative of a characteristic we've learned. So I used aluminum foil for the photosphere because it reflects light, right? It's producing light, or it's reflecting light. So we know that the photosphere is called sphere of light because that's the light we see here on Earth. So I tried to make sure that all of my layers had something about them that I could connect back to what we know about the layers of the sun. All right, so whether it's their structure or it's one of the other characteristics we've learned. And again, labels, I just used paper that I took out of a notebook, and then I cut them into little sections like labels, and then I wrote them out and then drew my little emoji or symbol, and then I just laid them on top. You don't need to like use tape or anything. And then just make a Flipgrid. So I put the Flipgrid link on our Google Classroom, and I have my Flipgrid example that I've also posted, so you guys can watch that again for how I did it. And I made the Flipgrid length 5 minutes so that you have enough time to explain each layer, why you chose the materials you did, and how that relates to what we learned about the layer. All right, does anybody have a question? And if you do, can you type it into the chat? This assignment is not due until tomorrow, so I wanted to give you lots of time to be able to put this together. It's something a little bit different. I've also posted a SciShow Space video about the sun. It's longer than the ones we've watched. It's 10 minutes, but it's great. It gives you more detail and information about the layers of the sun. But I've been talking a lot. I kind of wanted to give you something that you guys could do where you could be creative today, hands-on, and then show me what you've learned. So if you needed more information, then you can. Is James here? Where's James? Oh, that's so exciting. James! James, how are ya?
Good.
Oh, it's so nice to have you. Are you out of school, I assume?
Yeah.
Oh, well, you are always welcome to join us here. We all miss you. I'm going to unmute everyone.
Hi, Dave.
Hey, James.
Hey, James.
James.
Ma.
Oh.
I have a question. So, the lesson 2
If you get hated in here.
Can I invite Ishmael?
the activities that are played down.
Invite Ishmael.
Big no.
Oh,
You blocked me on every platform, guys. I can't.
Best idea I've heard all day.
Invite Melvin.
No, I'll get Malvin in here, dude. I have
Melvin.
Malvin stuff still.
stroke.
Yeah.
I forgot
I'm
about
inviting
Melvin.
Malvin. Dude, I'm inviting Malvin.
She should invite Ian.
All right,
Malvin's
I'm going to unmute everyone so I can go to people that have questions. So I'm going to go to Sergine for a question about real eyes.
Okay.
I sent Melvin.
All right, I'm gonna go to Sergine. All right, Sergine has a question about the Pearson textbook. Go ahead, Sergine.
So for the parts that require us to download it in order to do the activity, do we have to do those, or?
All I wanted you guys to do, or all that I assigned on the Pearson website, was just the reading of the text for the sun section, which is section 2 of this chapter. So for lesson 2, I attached the e-text just to read the text about the sun. And then I attached an interactive where you just labeled the parts of the sun. That was all I wanted you to do. So I know some people are asking, are we supposed to do the projects or the activities in it? No, I mean, this is your activity for today. But no, all I wanted you to do is read the text about that section for the lesson on the sun. And then there's like a 2 or 3 minute activity where you were dragging and dropping to show the layers of the sun.
Yeah, okay.
All right. So I'm sorry if that was confusing, but no, the only things I wanted was the reading and that interactivity that I attached with the matching. All right. Other questions? Also remember that we're giving you credit for completing and for participating, but if you are becoming an issue with not being here for academics, and if you're changing your name and you're doing different things that are making it hard for the rest of us to learn, then you're not getting credit for being here today. I don't want to have to say that, but there's some of you that are just chatting back and forth about nonsense, and this is not a chat room. You can definitely do that on your own time, but this is class, so that needs to stop. Also, Omesh, I don't see you as a name that's listed, so if you used a different name, then that needs to stop as well. All right, does anyone else have questions about, so I saw that, yeah, so this would be tomorrow at midnight. Yes, Donovan. So I don't expect, so I want to give you a longer time to be able to put this together. I honestly put this together in 20 minutes. Obviously I had it in my head about characteristics already, but I don't want anyone to have to go out and buy stuff. This is something that you can definitely put together at home with what you have. I mean, you could even, okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? So you can type into the chat for me. Yes, you can use paper. Michael, that was very creative. Yes, you can use paper. I was about to say, like, I don't want you to make a mess and I don't want your parents to like be upset with you wasting material. So I was trying to think of things you could use that could be reused again. But I mean, I've seen some people make this out of condiments, like ketchup and mustard and mayonnaise, and like that sounds really gross. But I mean, just think what you have around. I don't want you to use condiments, I guess that'd be a waste. But you could, you know, arrange other objects from your house. Like you make like a candle be the center because the candle has a flame. It's very hot, and so is the core. And then you could put objects around that and move outward from there. Just think, like, look around. What do you have here in your house that you could use? You could use paper. I guess you could use, don't use toilet paper. There's a problem with toilet paper right now. I would stay away from the toilet paper, but regular paper, go for it. You could also just cut and draw and cut out the layers from paper and then just stack them on top of each other like that if you want to. That's perfectly fine. Great idea. Okay. So ultimately in the end, you're going to make a flip grid. So I'm going to pull that up really quick. And if you haven't already yet, please go to Google Classroom. All right, so for Google Classroom, we have, there I've attached the sun, which is another video you could watch before attempting this that might help with creative ideas about how you're gonna represent each layer and a characteristic for each one. I put the Flipgrid link here for you to post your Flipgrid. For the first Flipgrid assignment I had, a lot of people did not participate, and I wasn't sure why. So if this is an issue because you don't want it to be seen by other people, I can change that so that it's not public, but at the same time, I think it's fun to share together. So this is a way for us still to interact even though we're not here together in person. Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, that's it for today. So that's your assignment. And like I said, I attached the video about the sun if you wanted more information about it. But your activity today is to make a 3-dimensional model of the sun. It's due tomorrow by midnight. Any way that you do that, I encourage you to think creatively, have fun today. That was the goal. Remember, I did post the requirements on Google Classroom, so that doc I've attached has the exact requirements. You have to have all 6 layers. You have to have labels for each layer, meaning use paper. All right, a symbol on the paper that represents a characteristic about the layer. And then your materials you use to make the model should have some relationship to a characteristic of the layer it's representing. Okay? All right, everyone. Have fun. I can't wait to see the flip grids. If you have any questions, just email me. Bye. If you have a never mind. I'm gonna leave it up. So the rest of you can go, but if you have a question and you want to talk to me, then I'm just gonna stay for a little bit in case people have questions. Remember, I don't want this to cost money. So you can use paper, you can use anything else around your house, like Legos, toys. I really love people joining us. I know for many of you, maybe you're not as excited that we're still doing this every day, but remember that we have a really great opportunity here to continue to learn, so we don't have to extend our school year. And I also wanted to clarify, if you're still here, I know most of you are gone, but people were confused about whether or not we still had to do school because the governor's statement said school grades didn't count. What that means is it means that we won't have a school grade this year. So every school has an A, B, C, D grade, right? And that's based on how kids perform on the tests. So because there's not going to be FSAs, there's no way to give a school a grade rating this year. That's what that statement meant. It didn't mean you guys don't have to do work or you don't have to have grades. You guys still have to finish the school year to go to high school. So we have to do this. It either means us doing it in person through the summer or it means us doing it this way. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so if you have any questions about that, please contact me. I know it's a very weird time. So thanks for joining. If Hayden wants to come, that would be great. I want to hear about Alaska. So. All right. Have fun. Again, remember, you can use anything outside, leaves, sticks, rocks, stones, and just find some pieces of paper to label each one and tell us in the flip grid, okay? All right, I'm going to go if we don't have questions. Thank you. Bye. What? Tell Hayden to join us tomorrow. Okay. All right, thank you for joining. Bye, everybody.